Hey folks, it's time for the quote of the day, and I apologize for the rain. It's nothing I can do about it. It just happens, and well, I gotta make a fucking video, right? Today's quote is going to come to you as the same as last year by James Baldwin. James Baldwin is somebody that I've quoted numerous times over the lifespan of my quote of the day series, and he's somebody that I just think is such an important voice in American history and civil rights history, in LGBTQIA plus history, and in just the history. Honestly, I mean, I'm breaking it down, but really of existence, which is I think the way that he would more appreciate it. He didn't really like the labels. I think he famously once said, and I don't remember the exact quote, but he said something about how he doesn't consider himself to be black. He doesn't consider himself to be gay. He doesn't consider himself to be bisexual. He doesn't consider himself to be, all these different terms. He considers himself an amalgamation of all of those things. And he honestly didn't like the fact that people tried to boil him down to just this or that, or even a combination of them. He said, I'm all of these things, and they're always moving in different ways and exhibiting themselves in different ways. And so I refuse to be held down by your terminology. And that's something that I absolutely fucking love. We all fall into it, and I've fallen into it plenty of times where somebody kind of is defined in the popular culture by their sexuality or the color of their skin or whatever. And even though we say, especially people that are progressives and leftists, will say, well, I'm not racist, I'm not this, I'm not that. You still fall into the trap of saying, well, this is their color, this is, who they're sleeping with, this is, and you use those terms to define them. And I think that that's important when you're talking about that experience, as James Baldwin was very, very, very adamant about doing. But when you try to define that individual instead of their experience, when you try to say you are a black writer, you're doing yourself and the person that you're talking about a disservice, because they are human. They are humans, right? It doesn't matter what subcontext you want to, or subcategory you want to fit them in. They are humans, and they should be treated as such. And that was the point that James Baldwin often made, was that, he didn't like the fact that he was considered to be a black writer. He was a writer, and he wrote about the black experience from a firsthand experience of being black, right? And I think that there is a difference there. It may be a little nuanced, and it may be difficult for some people to grasp, but there is a difference in those two things and the way they are approached. And I think that that's important to understand. Now, I've talked about James Baldwin at length in multiple videos. There's really not much I can add to what you probably should already know. I mean, this dude is literally one of the greatest voices in American history, in my opinion. And you can go look up like videos of him talking. And when I say voices, I mean that like literally voice as well, not just the things he said, but his voice as well, the way that he talked, the cadence with which he got across his ideas. To say that there are times when I try to emulate him would be, very much underselling it. I to a certain degree, I learned how to speak about certain things by watching him. And if you go watch videos of James Baldwin speaking, I hope it would be an immense honor if people could find just the little attempts that I make in using some of the same terminology and using the same cadence and things like that. To tell you that I emulate him is I mean, I'm not saying that I just copy James Baldwin's shtick. I'm saying I look up to him, and the closest thing I can do to honoring him is learning how he was able to convey his ideas and trying as best as I can to do the same, because he was just a fucking master at it. Now, as far as the quote today, I'll get to that in a moment, but I heard an anecdote that I thought was really, really wonderful about him. And I wanted to share it really fast before I got to the quote. This actually, I don't remember where I read it, but I read this, I don't know, probably a couple months ago now, where he was being taken care of. Well, he died of stomach cancer. I don't remember what year he died now, but it was like, I don't remember. But he died of stomach cancer, and while he was basically on his deathbed, like slowly fading away, he was being taken care of by a man named Null. I can't remember it's like Fred Hollis or something like that. I could be wrong. I apologize. I didn't do my research on this. This is all off the top of the head. But he was being taken care of by a man named Nall, and Nall has told the story about how he was sitting with James Baldwin, and he's sitting with him while he's basically slowly expiring. And he said, I just wanted to take this chance, this opportunity that I have to thank you. He's like, your books really helped me. They really helped me get through my own prejudices, my own ways of looking at things. And because he was from Alabama, and he said, they helped me get through a lot, and it really did affect me. You had a really powerful effect on me. And James Baldwin, sick, in pain, grabbed him by the hand and said, you telling me that liberates me. That's the term that Nall used. He says, you liberated me from this way of thinking. And he said, no, you telling me this liberates me. And I thought that's a beautiful, beautiful, poignant story about who James Baldwin was, because he understood that gratitude, true appreciation, and just showing that gratitude, sharing that sentiment is the path towards true liberation. And I thought that was a beautiful, beautiful thing, because it's very true. And it's just, I don't know, it kind of almost brought a tear to my eye thinking about it. Now, as far as the quote of the day, this is one that's not going to bring a tear to my eye. It's going to piss me off. And I just want to warn you of that ahead of time, because even reading it now bothers the shit out of me because of how accurate it is. James Baldwin once wrote, and this was actually from, I think, a letter that was published in the New Yorker. It may have been a piece that he wrote, but it was written in letter form. But this is an excerpt from that. And he said, a civilization is not destroyed by wicked people. It is not necessary that people be wicked, but only that they be spineless. Read that again amidst the pitter-patter of rain. A civilization is not destroyed by wicked people. It is not necessary that people be wicked, but only that they be spineless. Now, oh boy, James Baldwin, hit the nail on the head as per usual. Look around you, folks. This is the world that we live in now. This is the world that we live in. People are spineless at every single juncture, at every single point of the day. From the top down, we have the wicked people that are also spineless. But then from, just everyday people, all the people you see, people here on the internet, people that make comments and send DMs because they know they can hide behind a screen. There's no repercussions for saying these things. There's no repercussions for acting a certain way. Every single juncture throughout every day of life, you will see an example of the spinelessness that is required for us to reach where we are today, for society to hit this point. It's not just about apathy. That is definitely part of it. But it's the spinelessness, the cowardice that people approach their everyday life with, where they just don't want to talk about it, they don't want to think about it, they don't want to do this, they don't want to deal with pain, they don't want to deal with discomfort, they don't want to deal with anything. It's fucking spinelessness. You're a fucking coward. And I'm not just talking about religious things, or not. I'm not just talking about political things. I'm talking about religious things. I'm talking about therapy things. I'm talking about the way that people approach your everyday goddamn fucking life. People don't need to be wicked to ruin your life if you're not courageous enough to stand up and do something about it. Their wickedness just seeps into you because you're too spineless to stand up and actually do anything. And I know that this is difficult, but I promise you that this is something that James Baldwin would tell you to your fucking face if he were alive today. It's not a matter of just feeling good all the time. Sometimes we need to feel bad. Sometimes we need to be brave enough to look at the problem and actually address that shit, instead of just looking away from it and saying, well, we're not going to give it our energy. We're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. All of these different ways of fucking talking that people use that are popularized by the internet and then emboldened by the internet. It's all just different levels of spinelessness. There's no courage in this action, in this way of thinking, in this way of being. And thus, it allows us to reach where we are today, where wicked people are allowed to do whatever they want because the mass of people are too spineless to stand up and do anything about it. Happy birthday to James Baldwin. And to the rest of you, please, Take care of yourself and take care of others. I'll talk to you soon.